Another video challenge. This time, talking about the world that we're actively creating. Now, I know a lot of people like to think that we're just like creating based on like what we want to have happen. It's like a lot of people talk about like, oh, I'm like a creator, and I've got the right intention, and I'm like a positive thinker. But in reality, that doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't really matter in the sense of, are you changing the physical matter of this world that we're all in and we're all sharing? The world we're actively creating right now is bad. It's really bad. If you see the rate at which everything's developing in terms of, well, automation is for sure coming into blindside everybody. The Great Reset, UN 2030 agenda, which I know sounds good on paper, but if you really investigate it, I would look deeper. I would look at as well the World Economic Forum and who contributes to the World Economic Forum. It's a bunch of huge corporations that basically have this globalist agenda to have a world ruled by, like I said, corporations. Now, that's a world that we're actively creating and participating in. And I use Facebook, I use Amazon. I'm not like saying stop using the big companies in that sense, like do what's practical. But here's what I would suggest would be look at and be real self-honest. Like self-honesty is the key here of what is this world that we are actively creating? Look at the results in your life. Look at what's happening on a daily basis. Look at, is your level of responsibility increasing? Do you react throughout the day? Like, what are the reactions that are coming up? Are you consistently working on yourself on a daily basis? Because that kind of stuff that you do internally and in your immediate environment, that's what then ripples out into the world. Now, the world that I'm focused on building, along with many others, is a world where self-perfection is just a way of being. Self-perfection is not just self-improvement, self-help, self-development. No, it's not that. Because self-development and self-help is consistently abused just for people to make money selling self-help books or selling seminars or whatever, products or services based on just complete BS. Self-perfection is the principle of investigating your past and looking at all of it, stuff you don't want to look at, and then systematically, point by point, forgiving it. Because if you don't do that, that's going to be passed on to your children. It's going to go with you. You're going to be literally resonating it like a tuning fork in your life. And so systematically going back through and forgiving all of the stuff that we've accepted, that we've allowed throughout our lives, that is the beginning of self-perfection. But then also what self-perfection looks like, what it looks like on a daily basis is actively creating the world. So in everything you do, if you go to work, if you stay at home with your kids, if you, whatever it is you do, to actually live that change. So it's not enough to just forgive yourself and then go do the same problem again. Go do the same like problematic behavior. Rather, in the moment, I call it quantum application. It's like instantaneously applying the change. And then you can live that change daily and it just becomes an expression of who you are. Then the third part of self-perfection, and this is the world that we are actively creating, is a world where we're all actually able to live as our utmost potential. That's not some grandiose thing of like, we're gonna ascend or some shit. You hear people say all sorts of things. In reality, just our utmost potential will look like everybody's got enough food, water, nutrition. Everyone has a real education. They understand how the world actually works. They have the ability to process information. We have a money system where at least everyone has their basic needs met. And if you want to have a Ferrari or you want to have a mansion, you still work for it. You have to take responsibility. And you have to build something of value. So I'm not saying any type of ideal of like capitalism or communism or anything like that. It's just inherently the best way of approaching life is the timeless principle of give as you would like to receive. And the fact that right now there are children born into this world with parents who don't know what's going on, or parents who can't even feed their kid, like that's problematic. But it's a process of changing the system so that that doesn't need to keep happening. Because that, for example, the child who's born and doesn't have enough food to eat, that's a result of the fact that we have an economic system that has abuse built into it. So the world that we're actively creating, that is the world we're actively creating. Right now, thousands, millions of babies will be born into a world that's basically hell on earth. Like imagine that, being born into a family where you just get abused, or you get sold into sex trafficking. Because that's going to happen today, and tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day. However, this is the reason that we have the self-perfected group, as well as all the other different things that I'm involved with. It's because we're here to actually end child abuse, to end child slavery, to end the suffering, the starvation. And we do that through equalizing education, bringing everybody up to the highest level of education and the ability to process information and think critically. So you can't be fooled by the media. You can't be fooled by people who are emotionally trying to manipulate you. We build it up through education. Then next, we go into politics, because political change is where change needs to happen. As well as across the board, the media companies need to change, the way we look at business needs to change, but all of that comes back to governmental policy. But none of us can do this alone. That's why it takes a network. That's why we have Self-Perfected. So that's the world that we're actively creating. For any of you who can hear this message, join us, because there's no other group out there that's taking that comprehensive of a view and understands the key leverage points to get into the system, as well as have a global network that's all on the same page. This is literally, you could call it the New World Government in the making, but it's a New World Government and a New World, you know that idea of New World Order? We just call it the New World in order. So it's all in order, as in we're creating systems and our starting point is doing what's best for everybody. Common sense. It's just people don't even believe that's possible. People think, oh, human nature is just inherently competitive, or human nature is inherently evil, or whatever. That's just because we've accepted and allowed that. You can change your programming. We can forgive the past, can live the change daily, build as the best expression of yourself as your utmost potential. That's self-perfection in action right there. That's why I do the group. That's why I do the video challenges, because every week I have more and more people reaching out that want to get involved, because it's like people get so pissed about the state of the world, but then they go into hopelessness. There's more and more people that are pissed about the state of the world. They realize they can do something about it, and now they realize, oh, there's a whole group of people already doing this. So if it's just for you, for your family, for your kids, your community, or for the entire world, whatever your reason is less important. Is just join us. Get involved. Let's connect. Let's share resources. Let's network. Perhaps I could introduce you to somebody who changes your life, or vice versa. That's really living by principle, and that is the world that we, with Self-Perfected, are actively creating. So, hope to see you in there, and if you found any value in this, and you know people who'd benefit from this, share it.